And I was saying to Will there, you know, like when you get like a prickly heat on your arms, it's that warm. And it was a little bit like that. So my time was just terrible. But I had fun. It was good. Yeah, not bad at all.
I think Jason Wilson is having some technical difficulties, by the way.
Oh, shit.
Oh, okay. Is he not on yet?
He's in here, but I don't think he hears anybody. And now I just see Gary. What?
Oh, how strange. Is Will gone?
No, I'm here.
Yeah. What?
Oh, was there?
Well, we're live.
I just see Great Britain. You know, TV. That's all I see.
GV. Yeah, my initials.
So,
oh goodness.
I just listened to a guy recording a clip of Gary Buller's character in my World War I story that's going to be on the Grey Rooms.
Oh, fantastic!
It's pretty exciting. You know.
It's a good story, man. It's a good story. As I said, when we were going through it and stuff, when I had a quick look at it, you know, just to make sure the English dialogue was good. It was just, you know, just a couple of little things I pointed out, but the rest of it was fantastic. You know, you got it pretty much spot on, and you know, the terminology they use and stuff is something I completely understand, so it must be right.
Well, that's good because in the United States we don't really talk about World War One, so
no. Oh, no.
At all. It's like
I had a bizarre conversation with my dad once that World War One is his favourite war. I was like, right, okay.
I love that war. Man, the other one sucked.
Whereas I prefer World War Two. I find World War Two much more interesting, but there you go. It was a strange conversation, but
that's it.
Yeah.
Oh,
so is Jason going to try and get on, or?
I think he's in here. I think it's just a thing of getting the settings straight. I don't know.
Right.
Yeah, that's probably.
Okay.
Well,
maybe when he's sort of got it.
Yeah, while we're waiting, let's talk about what we're drinking.
Oh, nice.
What you got?
Guess first.
Yeah.
Go on, Brian.
Well, I have a Yingling Black and Tan.
Ooh.
So
nice.
You know, I'm an IPA guy normally, but drinking a little bit of a porter today, so that's nice.
No, that's good. What about you, Will?
I'm drinking this one called Kentucky Bourbon Barrel Ale, aged in oak bourbon barrels.
I knew bourbon had come into it. Anything Kentucky on it, it's got bourbon in it, hasn't it? And I'm drinking something called Dizzy Blonde. It's called, and it's got a picture of it's got a picture of a blonde woman on the front. You know, like you'd probably get on like an aircraft in the war. Like it's got like a woman sat on the words Dizzy Blonde, and it's a zesty ale. Yeah, it's really nice. It's like a pale ale. Yeah, it's nice. Made by Robinson's Brewery here in Manchester.
Oh. Speaking of, one thing I thought was kind of funny is the guy that voices you, Gary, is actually Scottish.
Oh, really? How was his English accent then, or is it hard to tell?
I think it's pretty good. I mean, I'm not an expert, in the conversion of a Scottish guy speaking British, but I think it works out pretty well.
Well, here's a bit of a tester for you. Do you think Dick Van Dyke does a very good English accent?
Dick Van Dyke? I don't know.
Yeah.
I haven't heard Dick Van Dyke in a long time.
In Mary Poppins, he plays Bert, doesn't he? The British sort of chimney sweep. And it's the worst English accent I've heard in my life. It's terrible. It really is bad. But I'm sure you guys get the same when you get plenty of British actors over there playing Americans, don't you? Like, I don't know. Half the guys in Walking Dead are English.
Or Australian or something. Yeah. It's crazy. You have people from New Zealand, Australia, and Britain taking over everything. So that's pretty cool, though.
Yeah. I mean, I was surprised that Morgan is a British actor as well. The black guy with the staff in Walking Dead. He's from Nottingham. It's mental.
When I heard that guy speak, I was like, "Holy crap!" Because their English accent is great. He was also in the show Jericho. And
yes. Yeah. Very cool. I don't think we've sort of formally introduced you to the guys who might be listening. All two of them.
Well, I've been
3 now. Hey now.
Busy night. So we have the guys from the Grey Rooms podcast, which is a forthcoming horror podcast. Is that fair to say, Brian?
Yeah. It's I guess it's sort of an audio drama, but mainly sort of an anthology series. Where we most of the work is provided by other people because we're lazy, and and we like it. Back in the day, you used to get all kinds of stuff from Tales from the Crypt and things like that. And, a lot of popular horror podcasts kind of go that route with the No Sleep podcast. People are probably pretty familiar with.
Yeah, it's good. Gallery of Curiosities is one I listen to. I've got a story on that as well, and their production values are excellent as well. But they're more sort of they actually have a quote from me at the top of their website saying it's Tales from the Crypt had a baby with steampunk. So it's a bit that sort of. They like steampunk stories. They like sort of what I'll describe like curiosity shop horror sort of stories. Anything that's old and timeless. But at the same time, including the steampunk elements occasionally, they like that sort of thing. If you got a cell phone or a car in it, they immediately reject you, sort of thing. It has to be quite timeless to be on their podcast. But can I just ask who's involved in the Grey Rooms? There's yourself, Brian Black, and who else?
Well, before you get into that, we actually I think Jason's working now.
Oh, cool.
Maybe.
Jason,
Yep,
there we go.
There it is. Well, for some reason, it redirected to my cell phone, so whatever.
Oh yeah, I see you're on twice. Well, you know what it was? I think it was that when Brian pulled you into the chat, remember I told you sometimes I have a problem with that?
Oh, it's
yeah.
awful.
So no. If I don't initiate it, something always goes wrong with Skype. It's like some crazy.
Well, as long as it sounds good, man, I'm not worried about it.
Oh, yeah.
Do you have a beer, Jason?
What's that? I'm sorry.
Do you have a beer on you? Are you drinking?
Yeah, I'm finishing off the mimosas this morning. We had a brunch this afternoon, and I went and loaded up on the mimosa material, and they're good. They're good.
Nice.
See,
We'll just sorry, go on, Brad.
No, I was just looking up what a mimosa was.
Oh, okay.
We're all very manly, Jason, and you're.
Oh yeah, man! It's a sparkling wine and orange juice. Yeah. And after I get done with this, I'm going to go write some horror.
Traditionally served in a tall champagne flute at brunch, at weddings, or as part of a first-class service on some passenger railways and airlines. Wow.
Left it. Right, wow. Boy, are you all on the wrong podcast here, Jason.
Mr. Hoity-toity over there, man.
Keyword was first class, guys. First class.
Fantastic. We were just talking about the Grey Rooms podcast and sort of, we haven't really got into it too much. We sort of held off until you sort of came along, Jason, but we're just saying who's involved staff-wise, who's on the staff.
Yeah. Well, I mean, me, and then obviously, and then we have Brian there, who's pretty much coined him as like our senior editor, co-creator, because Brian's been there pretty much since the founding of the idea. Like I approached him, I was like, "Hey, help, dude," and Graham wrote it.
Okay.
Yeah,
so
Graham is
you know
like
each
the
other
casting
then.
director and all that kind of jazz.
Cool.
And he actually is the voice actor for Falling. So when you hear that, that's great.
Oh, okay. He did a good job, man. I thought the voice acting on that. I mean, I won't go. Just so people know, Fallen's like a preview episode of the Grey Rooms podcast that me and Will have been fortunate enough to have a listen to. But I don't want to go too much into it. I'll spoil it, so I'm not going to describe what it's about or anything. But I think, the voice acting, it was really, really good because there's quite a sort of range of emotion that you need to convey in something like that, from happy to sort of terrified. And I think I remember thinking, whoever's done the voice has done a good job here, you know?
Yeah, that's Graham. He's definitely extremely talented, and we've been very fortunate to have him with us too. So,
well, he was there. Job. He was from the beginning too, pretty much. I mean, he. When I actually came in on this project, the podcast, I was kind of sold off of the the first trailer, which at the time was all there was. But then Jason had taken one of the stories from Man and Liza. Is that how?
Yeah, Man and Liza. Yep.
Liza, and he also is a no sleep writer. And the thing is about him, he had written this story called The Gardener.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. And that'll be on our podcast. It'll be actually the kind of the penultimate episode, I think. It's this, yeah. And I had listened to that. That one's completely finished, and that was also Graham. And it just sold me on the project. I mean, it was really, it was a stand-up job right there.
How did it come about? How did it start? Do you guys know each other? How did the idea come about?
Well, it's kind of funny. I met Brian because of Manon.
Yeah.
I went to school for audio engineering, worked in radio for many years, and I just, I'm a postal worker now, and so I felt that I wanted to, I wanted something to do, so I would listen to podcasts, and I stumbled across the very first one I ever heard was Lore, and then after that, I because of Lore, I fell into like Welcome to Night Vale, and then No Sleep Podcasts, and I listened to No Sleep Podcasts, and I actually kind of more or less like David. I like David Cummings. He sounds like a really nice guy, and so I was really drawn into him rather than the podcast. And then as it progressed, I was binging this podcast. As it progressed, I said, you know what? At first, I was like, I'm going to reach out to somebody and see if I can do some editing, because this is what I love to do. I love to do audio work. It's my passion. And then I said, I got an idea, and I'm going to try it. I'm just going to try to do a podcast. And my wife actually told me, you better do something with that idea, or I'm going to write a book about it. Because I had the concept of the Grey Rooms. It was a dream I had 9 years ago.
Okay. So why is it called Grey Rooms then?
Because in this dream, the basic, without trying to give away too much to it, the protagonist wakes in a gray concrete room. And it's a small, wet, musty, dark room, and there's no way in or out except for one door. And then he goes through a door into the exact same room. And in this room, he's being made to choose a door. And he's kind of like I don't want to give too much away, but it's a gray room because he wakes up in this concrete, almost like a closet.
Prison cell, like a prison cell.
Almost, yeah. That's how it was in my dream.
So, like, he's jumping into, like, a whole bunch of... So, basically, the whole premise is each episode is, like, a death or something? Or like, whoever this person is that's trapped is experiencing a whole bunch of different deaths or experiences or the stories? Or like, what's the premise of the whole thing?
Yeah, well, I mean, that's pretty much it. Like, we don't know why this is happening to this person. Yeah. We don't know why. We don't divulge that in the beginning or anywhere. We kind of leave it up into the hands of the listener. I think it's a pretty interesting journey that Brian has actually created, by the way. But he steps into this door, and it's almost like I'm an older guy, so I always reference Quantum Leap.
Yeah.
But
a lot of people, God, I love that.
Yeah, a lot of people might think of Black Mirrors. A lot of people have said that, where he steps into the life of the person who's actually the main focus of the story.
Nice.
And each story ends tragically. And then at the end of this conclusion of the story, he wakes back up in the gray rooms to have to choose another door again.
Yeah.
Now, it is kind of cool to know that there is going to be kind of, like, you guys, when you listen to the following, it's a little different in how it's set up, because what you guys didn't hear was sort of the beginning and after part that kind of leads into the falling itself.
Yeah.
So you'll hear that on Friday. But one of the things I'm working on now is who Raymond is, and little bits and pieces of his past. Because basically that's sort of the thing where, every short story is going to be a slice of life that he kind of gets sucked into and experiences these last moments that somebody, feels in the story. But every time he dies, he's basically resurrected again, and he ends up in that same gray room and doing the same thing. And there's another character that he kind of can interact, and you'll kind of see that back and forth between them as it goes, because he's trying to find out, just like the rest of us. He doesn't remember a lot of his past,
Yeah.
So he's sort of like trying to figure out why he's being tormented like this, just like we are.
So,
And there will be a conclusion to it in a episode.
Like maybe some lesson he's trying to like. I'm not saying this is the thing, but what I see is like maybe some lesson, some life lesson, or something along those lines, possibly.
That'll be up to you.
Well, yeah. I mean,
yeah.
I don't know how much he's gonna learn because this is a very dark storyline. So if people want to get their hopes up and think, oh, I think everything's gonna be all right. I mean, you can think that. And maybe, but I mean, you might want to, maybe not hold your breath.
Yeah, put your seatbelt on. That's all I can say. Just put your seatbelt on.
So how do you structure that sort of like ongoing plot line into, say, I don't know, like I've submitted a story to you guys, and I'm really looking forward to sort of hearing it being produced and stuff.
Oh, yeah, great story, by the way. Great story.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I'm really excited. I'm even more excited having heard Falling. With the way
you got a really good voice actor doing your story too, by the way, Gary. Sorry to interrupt.
No problem. No problem. I'm just intrigued to know how the character in my story becomes. Is it like at the beginning and the end you sort of introduce this character and how he becomes another character, or how does it work?
Season 1 will begin and end with Raymond, who's that character that you find out about in the trailer. In the second trailer we released. Season 2, assuming everything goes well and all that, and I'm sure it will be a completely different character, a different theme. So there will be a kind of beginning and ending for Raymond in a sense.
Yeah, basically, like your story, Gary, which by the way is phenomenal. Raymond,
thank you.
Raymond just steps through the door, and that's how he becomes your character. And then at the end, the conclusion of your story, the door closes like you heard in the preview episode. You heard the door slam at the end. That's because he is now going to reawaken, and the Grey Rooms is Raymond. It's always Raymond. Raymond is the character in this story. All these little sub stories are just the suckiness that is the Grey Rooms.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah, it's not like reality. In a way, the way I kind of described it with Jason was that these stories, for instance, your story, The Way Out, once it's over, like the conclusion of that story, I mean, this isn't like this is some dimension where all these things are actually happening. That the main character was literally, the main character in the story was literally living, breathing, and all this. It's almost like. I don't know, like maybe like a virtual reality type deal or something, it's like once it's over, it's over, so it's not like these people in the Grey Rooms are just like causing all these horrendous things to the entire universe, so to speak. Maybe they are, I don't know. I mean, maybe there is something much darker going on.
It's a really cool idea to have that sort of anthology series, but linked in some way. I kind of like that, I think it's a clever way of doing it, as opposed to just putting out your random stories. It's nice to have some sort of thread there, I think.
That's all Brian. That's all Brian right there. I tell you, Brian has been. I'm gonna take a second, if I may, to just kind of put a little air hose in his head. But Brian has been an absolute godsend. He's really helped me to really develop this and move it along. Because truth be told, I had no idea what to do a podcast. I'm an audio guy. That's it.
Yeah.
And I figured I'd just be able to go and make a podcast and put it out there and see what happens. And as it started unfolding, I'm learning more and more and more about how difficult and how much work it actually is to put a podcast together. And having Brian around has really, really helped that quite a bit. Plus, now with Graham too. But Brian has really been quite the golden nugget, man. He's actually really helped me lay out the guidelines to make this all make sense. I'm really excited for this season to actually conclude, because I truly think that, I mean, if you were happy with how Falling sounded and how it was done, I think you're going to be really happy with the conclusion of the entire season, how it all comes to the climax in the end. How the ending, I think, is going to really either surprise, shock, terrify, whatever. But Brian's done a wonderful job.
Yeah.
Well, and that's the thing. Do you think, Jason, we should kind of just go over a quick summary of or not summary, but like a quick run through of some of the episodes that we're going to have?
Sure.
That'd be okay.
Yeah, that's fine. I mean, we're not going to be giving anything away because.
No, that'd be awesome. It'd be a real cool exclusive if you just let us know how it's going to go.
All right. Well, so episode 1 is going to be the Great War. That's my World War I story that is going to be dealing with basically the hero of the story, so to speak, is dealing with basically an invasion of rats during the trenches of World War I. And so that's going to be so that kind of story. And that's how it starts out. So also in that episode, you're going to learn about Raymond. He's going to wake up in the gray rooms and he's going to be discovering this. So then when you get to episode 2, he's actually going to be reacting to what just happened to him. And that's kind of the idea. So the second one is
this time he's also met the disembodied voice that's in the room, which is what you hear in the trailer.
Yeah.
That voice is the almost like his guiding light, or it could be his friend or his adversary at the same time. That voice is a very menacing entity that's around him.
Jason tells me that there's this like voice, entity, demon, monster, whatever thing, this thing that's basically forcing him to do this. And I said, what's his name? He's like, I don't know. He's like, I can't pronounce it. So it just became, I said, well, for now on, I'm just going to call him Bob. And that stuck. So he's Bob now.
We're going to call him Bob.
He's the scary Bob.
It's funny. We have a guest that calls in sometimes. He actually sent us a message. He sent us some questions for later. His name is Kentucky Bob.
Oh yeah, well maybe it's him. Maybe
I love your drink, Kentucky Bob. I love your drink.
Yeah, he's a bit of a character. He used to write the Deadman's Tone podcast as well.
Oh, nice. There you go. It's our tribute to him.
Yeah, it's a bit cheeky though.
Aren't we all?
So now that's going to be that'll be November 30th. Yep. And then the second episode will be I Loved My Human, and that will be December 14th. And actually, Jason's working on a lot of that now.
Yeah, I work on about 3 to 4 episodes at a time.
Yeah.
So it's what I try to get done at least.
So the one that's happening this Friday, that's just like a taste, like a teaser, right?
Yeah. Well, our
it's a
average
full
episode is going to go about 30 to 40 minutes long. That's including all of the intro, outro stuff. And this episode is really short, but it was really good, and we wanted to figure out how to use it. And there's a lot of time from now till November 30th.
Yeah.
And we want to keep people interested, and we want to let them know, hey, we're still here and we're still working our butts off to produce a 5-star quality podcast for you. Here's what we're going to. Here's an example of kind of what we're going to do for you.
Yeah.
Maybe get them excited. Like, this is the production work that's going into it. This is the acting. This is the story writing. Like, we're not selling you we're not giving you 2 stars at a 5-star price. We're doing the best we can to give you 10 stars at a 5-star price.
Yeah. And that's just, I mean, it brings me back to like watching some of those old shows where they listen to the radio instead of watching TV. And it's like it's better because you got all that, you can use your imagination, and then with the sounds, and then with the voice acting, you can make it pop out more in these guys' heads, instead of just having some limit, for CGI or some bad graphics or something on your local TV show. You can just have this quality and such. And I mean that's a good amount of time too. It's a good nice long episode. And Gary was talking about some of the podcasts he listened. I think he was saying the Gallery of Curiosities.
Yeah.
And then there's the what's that other one? The Wicked Librarian. The Wicked Library.
The Wicked Library. I listen to the Dark Nightmare podcast. I've not listened to too many No Sleep podcasts, but I need to. Lore I listen to. There's a few.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's really good.
Right.
Hey, quick question. So, how did you figure out like how much quality you'd want to use? Like, how did you think of did you hire any of the voice actors, or are they just people that are in on it, or?
No, not at all, man. I'm doing this literally. My setup is on my kitchen table.
Okay.
That's literally what it is. I fashioned a sound booth in a closet I don't use out of retractable shower curtains and about $160 worth of heavy-duty moving blankets. Which, by the way, if anybody's looking to make a makeshift sound booth, that's a way to go. It works great. But no, I actually put a Craigslist ad out there, and I just put myself out there like, hey, I'm wanting to start a podcast. This is on a shoestring budget. I don't know what I'm doing. Honestly, if you want to help, it would be great. This is a horror. And I started receiving emails, and people were asking for money, and I would say, no, I can't pay you yet. Yeah. But maybe one day I could, down the line, I could definitely give you money, which is the ultimate goal. The ultimate goal of this podcast to be self-sufficient. But I released that first trailer, and Graham emailed me. And I got back and forth with Graham, and it was the same thing. He gave me his price sheet, and I said, I can't really do it. And he said, no, I want to help out. And so, I mean, I couldn't say no to that after listening to what he did with Gardner. And then now Graham, being the casting director kind of guy, he's going out there and he's finding us people, and he's telling them, like, right now, this is out of Jason's bank account. So, it's not, we're getting a lot of volunteers. We're getting wonderful, talented people who want to help us succeed, because I think ultimately if we do, then that's going to help them out in the long run.
Oh, of course, yeah. They can start their careers off and everything.
And that's the same with the stories.
Yes, exactly.
Jason was kind of like asking random people everywhere for stories, and I started to take it over, and I think that honestly we started getting a lot of the some of the more, I don't know if I want to say, I guess prominent in a way for indie writers, people that I see every day. They're just in the same circles that I just kept running into. I kept running into Kelly Evans. I kept running into actually half the people you guys interviewed and are interviewing.
It's a small world. It really is.
Yeah.
It's a wonderful one to be part of, man. It's really been a lot of fun being part of it in a short time, by the way. So sorry, Brian.
Yeah.
No, I mean it's crazy though.
It's been such a fantastic resource. I mean, obviously from a different sort of perspectives. You're producing a podcast, and you've sort of tapped that resource for that, and it sounds like it's working really well. And from our perspective, as well as sort of writers, that group of people, as you say, you see the same faces, the same people, usually on social media and that, and it's like the gift that keeps on giving almost. They're just so useful, and you do them favors, they do you favors, and it's like you're all coming through together. But you do. It's quite funny, and then you see a couple of them sort of moving up into the bigger leagues, every so often, and it's a great world to be in. But when you sort of sent me the podcast to listen to, or I think maybe Will forwarded it on to me, the Falling one, I didn't know what to expect from it at all. Obviously, it's a free podcast. Yes. I knew you were quite passionate, and but I wasn't sure what to expect. And when I listened to it, I was like, hang on a minute, this actually sounds really good. And I don't mean that in a sort of, I always do that, sort of patronise, sound like I'm patronising someone, but no, it genuinely does. I was genuinely sort of surprised in a good way about it. And I was like, okay, this makes me really, really excited for the forthcoming season and to listen to my story being produced by these guys, because as I say, the voice acting was very, very good. The music was appropriate, and it was in the right places. I thought the audio experience enhanced the story, and definitely, I thought the voice acting and the music just elevated it to a slightly different level. So I'm actually really stoked to listen to it now, and I'm quite excited to be a part of it in a small way, and to sort of listen to it. But yeah, it's exceeded my expectations, and that was just in a 5-minute sort of preview, Well,
I appreciate that, man, because if there's one thing that I definitely have stressed from day one, is that if it's going to suck, we're not going to put it out. Because I mean, if we're going to make a podcast, we're going to make a dang podcast. And when people are putting their car stereos on or their headphones or whatever they're doing, which, by the way, to everybody, I recommend a high-quality audio system to any of the stories that we produce, because there's a lot of panning, there's a lot of layering, there's a lot of audio work. So your cell phone speakers will probably not do a very good quality.
It's funny you said that, because I have like Bose speakers hooked up to my computer, and I was listening to this, and I felt like I was inside the story. It was pretty cool.
I appreciate that, man. Yeah, it's kind of neat. Like when I'm out on my routes, I listen to audio, like I go to Audio Jungle a lot for sound effects and stuff, and also because I like to pay the licenses, I like to try to do everything legit, you know. And I'm listening to things, and everything as far as following goes, all of those pieces just jumped out at me, and so I'll make note to it and put it together. Which, by the way, Gary, I have the soundtrack to your story is pretty neat. So I'll just tell you that right now. It's pretty dark.
Fantastic.
It's very dark.
Oh, it's good. I've got a real soft spot for that story. You know, it's right up there with my sort of favourites that I've written in terms of the idea behind it. And it's the first story I ever had published. So, it's really interesting to sort of hear it get the sort of the grey rooms treatment, so to speak. And I'm looking forward to hearing what you're going to do to it, because I think it'll just enhance it even more, you know.
Well, and with the preview episode, I just wanted to bring this guy up, but forgive me, guys. Sorry.
It's okay.
There's a character at the beginning that you will never hear during the regular season that you guys were introduced to. I just wanted to point this out to the listeners that will be hearing this, just so they're not confused. But that is actually the warden. That's what we call him. He's the warden. And I'm sure you heard him walking up, and he sounds like he just has keys hanging off of him all over the place. Yeah. Well, that's because he does. He's actually, the way, in my mind, at least the way that I envision this guy, is that he is actually the curator. He's the one who carries the keys to every gray room, hence the plural gray rooms. There's more than one. Raymond's not the only one in this thing. That's the universe we're talking about. You don't know how many people are suffering at the same time. But that guy, he puts you in the room that you're to go into. He has your key. So everybody will experience the warden with this preview episode as well. And the only people who will experience that guy on a regular basis are the patrons, because he is the one who introduces all the bonus episodes.
Nice. Very good idea.
That was interesting.
It's like, that's okay. That's where because that was actually one of the questions I was going to say. Like, how do you plan on monetizing the podcast? So it'll be through the Patreon, or in the future you'd have like advertisements on the actual show or stuff like that.
Well, I mean, yeah, we're open to it. I mean, I would definitely, if I do an advertisement, I would try everything in my power to put it at the beginning or end of the episode, because I think that if you break the episode apart, you're going to kind of take somebody out of the emotion. So
yeah.
But I mean, Patreon right now we have the 4 tiers, and then when the website goes up, which, you know, if anything's moving at a snail pace, it's my fault because I'm still learning this stuff as we go. But you know, when the website goes up, which should be here soon, we're actually going to have a one-time donation on there if anybody wanted to do that. And then we're also going to look into doing affiliate stuff. Like, you know, TeePublic has approached us about doing a affiliate, and then, that kind of stuff where, you know, if you go and buy something from us, it's an extra 30% or something off. And yeah.
It actually segues into my next question, where you said basically, like, you know, you're going to, like the Patreons and all that stuff. Right. You know what? I think I totally fucking forgot my question. This happens at least once a show.
Oh, I sounded so professional as well, though.
And I'm the one getting razzed for drinking mimosas.
Oh no! Okay, I remember.
I'm staying on it.
You were saying that you know that you're moving at a snail's pace. What are your work schedules like? Like, because that also plays a big part in you know producing these things.
Yeah. Well, I'm a United States letter carrier, so I work, you know, during the day. I also have a part-time job at night that I work 3 nights a week at a restaurant, and that job actually funds the podcast. And then I work for about an hour and a half to 3 hours, not every night, but almost every night on the podcast.
Damn.
Hey, man, the listeners deserve it.
Yeah.
And people in the Patreon, if I don't even care if it's $2, if they're dropping $2 into this, they deserve that effort. So I don't care. I can get sleep later.
How about you, Brian?
I just yell at him when he makes sleepy typos.
He does. I do it all the time. I suck so bad at that.
No, I mean, yeah. What was the question?
What is your private schedule like? Your work schedule, life schedule?
Well, yeah, I mean, I have pretty, I work in a shipping and receiving office, so I mean, mine's usually like 7 a.m. to 3:30 p.m. So I actually have a pretty open schedule to do a lot, which is what I was doing. I was spending a lot of time after work in the beginning, just kind of like trying to find stories and bug people for their stories, and kind of work on doing some little editing for some people's stories and working on mine. I mean, I have another short story that I'm working on. Plus, I got every episode I have to do content for. So, I mean, it's kind of like there's actually 4 stories of mine that are going to be in this podcast. And it's not really because I'm an egomaniac or anything, It's just because we needed to fill in more blocks because, it's kind of funny. A lot of times, I think for season 2, we're going to have a ton of people wanting to see their stories be part of the Great Rooms. I mean,
I think absolutely. I think so. Yeah, I think there will be.
And so we did have a lot of people writing new, works of fiction for this. Some people gave us stuff that's already been published, and that's great too, and everything. But I found that, and one guy had sent us a story, and I loved it, but there was just one scene in it where I was like, oh man, we can't, like, that would kill our entire podcast. Every single religious group and family group, it would just cause so much problems. I was like, buddy, I love your story. I understand why you did it. I can't do it. I don't know what, I mean, I know, thank you so much for sending it to us, but, and he actually did give us another story. And, and that'll be on the Grey Rooms. It's called The Summer Child. It'll be the 9th episode. Actually, I really should kind of go down that line, but you know what? I mean, it worked out because that's also a really crazy story. This
that story's off the wall, man. That story's. I sometimes sit down and I read these stories before I get to work on them. I'm like, how am I going to make this? How am I going to do the sound of this? But then it all comes together. But yeah, that one's wild. That's gonna be
that was Daniel Russell. He's he's this Australian guy who's also in the Horror Writers Association, and he's pretty crazy guy, but we really had a good time, and I was really amazed by just how helpful everybody was in submitting the stories, and every now and then I'd kind of be like, hey, how's it going or whatever, but if I needed edits, if I needed somebody to go change some things, everybody was really willing. And I had never really edited an anthology before, and that's pretty much what this is. So it was definitely a learning experience. I didn't really understand anything by, for instance, word count. I didn't know where it translated in minutes, which is something I never really thought about before, because when you're typically writing short fiction, you don't really think about how long it's going to take for somebody to read it.
Yeah. And how it translates.
Yeah, and you don't think about it. You don't think about there was a lot of understanding on the Grey Rooms itself that I wasn't 100% sure on. Does everybody have to die? Yes.
Yes. Yes. Everybody has to die.
You have to die. It can be implied. It doesn't have to necessarily be like the person's brains are splattered on the floor or the wall right then and there. But
granted, I won't turn that away either.
Yeah.
Or you can even have like a 2-episode thing. Like if somebody doesn't, it tricks somebody. Like, wait a second, I thought they were supposed to die, but then it's like, no, the second half of their episode is next.
Oh man, wouldn't that be horrible?
You may have just pitched
like
something for a Patreon bonus.
Yeah.
It's like, you want to see their death? You gotta get to the Patreon.
Wouldn't that be horrible though? If the guy he was basically in some story and somebody's just chopping off his fingers and his toes and all these things, and then he ends up waking up and he's like, man, I'm glad I got out of that story. I don't know how that happened. And then he goes in the next story and he's just back in the chair. Okay, let's go.
Oh, man.
That sounds like a good story. Let's get to writing that.
Yeah, definitely.
I already have some sound effects in mind.
Snip, snip.
Lots of squishes. Yeah, lots of squish.
Oh, nice.
Oh, Jesus. See, it's fun. And that's the thing. Horror is fun. You know, I don't know who it was I was talking to on Twitter, but they said, you know, I don't know if I could write horror. And I said, you know, horror isn't just vampires and zombies and witches and these things. You know, it's anything that terrifies you. Real life is, I mean, I'd say most of these stories are real life scary. Not, you know.
Yeah.
I think there might be there's one ghost story.
Yeah, there's one with there's one story in there with the teddy bear.
There's
That's
teddy
the
bear
only story that steps out of the actual parameters of the Grey Rooms, and that was only because it was given to the podcast before I really knew what the heck was going on, honestly. But it's a vengeful teddy bear, and then we have that zombie-ish story.
Yeah, well, it's more like aliens, really.
Yeah.
We have a story. It's well, can we go through that again? Like just the kind of like.
Brian, I'll shut up this time. I promise.
Well, no, it's no good. I don't mind. It would just be easier though. You know, that way we can.
No worries.
So Falling was written by Mike Lee, and you know, we'll talk about him in a second. But episode 2 is another Mike Lee story, and it's called "I Love My Human," and that's the teddy bear story that we were talking about. I can't imagine being a teddy bear, but this Raymond is going to be a teddy bear and dealing with that stuff.
Will likes bears, so Will might know.
Yeah.
Type of bear, but there you go.
Oh man.
Will hit subscribe.
we sold. I think he's clicking our Patreon right now.
Oh man. Yeah, it's like that. What was that? I think it was called Ted. The teddy bear.
Ted,
yeah, it's nothing like that, right? It's like, it's serious?
No.
It's a teddy bear that wants revenge for things that were done to its owner, basically.
Wow.
So it's a heart-wrenching
really cool.
story.
It's a terrible story.
You know what's it would be a great. I don't know if you guys played Grand Theft Auto 5 or ever heard of it. But there's a teddy bear in there that the character. You know the character that plays. Oh man, the right hand of Negan. I don't know.
Yeah. I can't remember his name, but definitely.
So him, like he plays, he's like the meth cook or something. He's like the I guess you could say the hillbilly character sort of, and he there's a scene where it shows that he does stuff to this teddy bear, and like it leaves. I mean, obviously it leaves you to the. I mean, sort of the imagination, but like the it's atrocious things that happen to this teddy bear. There's holes in it and stuff like that. It brings that to mind, you know. It's like the teddy bear gets revenge for you know.
Now, there may be other than the holes, there may be some very similar parallels there. So
yeah,
there's a it just reminded me while you were talking when you were talking about the teddy bear and the revenge and all that. But there's a story in. Is it Six Tales by Stephen King? The one there was a competition, and I don't know if any of you have read it. And Stephen King selected 6 stories.
Oh, I heard of that. Yeah,
it's actually really good. Definitely give it a try. I think it's really cheap on Kindle. But one of the stories in there was about a teddy bear, and it's strongly, not to sort of spoiler alert, but it's strongly implied that the teddy bear was. Basically this kid's father, sort of not necessarily reincarnated or anything, but it had something to do with his dad, and he did horrible things, and his mum fell down the stairs, and it was all to do with this teddy bear. The teddy bear was always there, sort of thing. And that was a really good story, and it just shows you can sort of make inanimate objects like that quite creepy.
I just That's made it worse in my mind by picturing this kid's mom having sex with a teddy bear.
Yeah, I was there too, Brian. I was there too, Brian.
So does that mean she was stuffed?
Oh
my.
Oh my.
No, I think you guys will like that story though, man. It's voiced by Sarah Ruth Thomas, and she does a great job. So,
do either of you? I mean, I don't know if you'd want to say, but do either of you have any personal favourites in the ones that are coming up, or would you rather just sort of leave it to the imagination of the listeners?
Yeah, I think we'll leave it to the imagination.
Yeah?
Yeah, it's not fair to pick somebody's story. I'd say mine, but that's kind of awful.
Well, right now, the one that I've had the most fun editing, but also the most like pulling my hair out is so far has been I Loved My Human. Just because it's so weird to try to make it sound. I mean, because this is a teddy bear, and I'm trying everything I can to make the atmosphere sound like this is not. I guess I can't really describe it. It's hard. It's hard to find all the right sound pieces that go and to make it sound realistic, like it's not gimmicky and jokey. It's a teddy bear, I mean, this one's normally a story takes me about a week and a half to do. It's solid,
right?
And I Love My Human's been tailing 3 weeks now. So it's just, if I'll hear a song, I like it, then I don't like it. I just need to move on, I guess.
If the characters in the first Toy Story had revenge on that bully kid, this is what you would have.
I can't wait till you hear the clunk end. This end is terrible.
It is. It really. Okay, guys. The third episode is They Don't Make Them Like That Anymore. And that's actually the ghost story. And it's by
Rasputin.
Renfield Rasputin. What a name.
Oh, sorry, I had it backwards.
Yeah, Renfield Rasputin.
Is that his real name?
No,
I know, right? That's a cool name.
But it is an awesome name. And he's a pretty cool guy. It basically is the only sort of, I'd say, traditional kind of creepy story, that we have. It's about basically a haunted rocking chair. So, if you think about that, obviously you can think of a lot of sound effects you're going to get with that. But
creak.
Yeah, that's it. That's all he has to do. It's just making creaking sounds.
That's it. Ooh, creak.
And to answer Kelly, it's not the name Rasputin. That is the guy's name. Renfield Rasputin is his name. Because Kelly, as we'll talk about, has a Rasputin story itself. A historical story. So that's,
is Kelly Evans listening? Hey, Kelly. Yeah, it's finally nice. This is my voice. I'm Jason. Thanks for giving us that story. It's wonderful.
Number 4 is The Way Out.
Yes, sir.
Ooh.
So there
Who
you
wrote
go.
that?
Yeah, that was Gary Buller.
The title just sounds like it's going to be a really, really good story. Just from the title, I can just tell.
Yeah. I think people need to pay attention to the name, though. I think they need to pay attention to this name in this season, Gary Buller. Yeah, listen for that name.
Well, they'll hear it. It's weird because the author of The Way Out died in the first episode of The Grey Room.
Stop, Brian! You
Spoiler alert!
Well, you into that.
Oh, dear.
Well, there goes that Amazon gift card I was going to give away.
Hey, I wrote the story. If I would have spoiled it, fine.
No, you didn't. I'm just messing.
It's not. He's a minor character, really. I
mean,
sorry, Gary.
What's funny is.
Cheers. Thank you.
I need to write another story where Gary Buller does a 10K run. And
thanks, man. I die.
Someone's like, I like it when you're hot and sweaty.
Just so everybody knows, if you end up in the gray rooms and you're in the story, you are going to die.
Yeah.
There's never a good ending. So
as the main character, not every single person in the gray rooms dies, but the main character will die. So episode 5 is another one of my stories. It's Fairy Tale, and it's unique because the main character doesn't die.
Right.
Which is really funny.
That is true. That's right.
It's sort of weird because the main character is actually the bad guy, so to speak. And you'll see why. Nice. It's basically a retelling of Little Red Riding Hood. And the wolf is actually a man, not a werewolf or anything, just a man. His last name is Wolf. And I play it on as, it all goes through his point of view. So the whole story it kind of happens in a similar way as the old, story goes. But there's a lot going on in it, and we were actually at times we were a little concerned about even airing it because it's pretty intense.
That one's going to have trigger warnings at the beginning. For sure. It's a great story, but it is extreme.
Yeah, it's messed up. What did your wife call it? Obscene? Was that
obscene? Yeah.
There's an advertisement for it right there.
Yeah.
Obscene. Jason's wife said it was obscene. Everybody. So
yeah.
But other people she liked it though, right? She just I wanted to make sure that it would be okay, so I sent it out to some females to read. Now I'll go ahead and leave that. I'll leave that to everybody's interpretation of why I sent it out to the females. But I sent it out to a bunch of ladies to read, and only one of them said, "Whoa." Other than that, everybody was like, "Yeah, it's a great story. It's obviously very unnerving, but that's what horror's supposed to do: is kind of stir the pot and make you unease." Yeah. Now, I just got to say that Kelly Evans in the chat just said, I killed Gary off in my latest novel. Yeah. Join the club. Everyone's killing Gary.
Yeah.
Oh, man. That's love, Gary. That's love.
Gary is the new Kenny. Gary is the new Kenny. It's like, oh, my God, they killed Gary.
I think I've had more sort of feature appearances in short stories than I've actually written and had published, I'm like a character in about 10 different stories.
That's awesome, man.
And they're all assholes. I don't know what it's...
So what you're saying is their autobiographies or their biographies.
Yeah.
It's kind of funny you say that, Gary, about you making appearances and stuff. Brian, did you mention to him that we actually got the first take of the voice actor that's playing Gary?
Yeah.
And that dude just blows up on everybody. He's for lack of better words, he is a jerk.
Yeah, he is, and he's really the recording we have is actually like, in my mind, I don't know if I just had it turned up really loud, but he seemed like ridiculously loud. So it felt like he's just shouting everything at everybody, and it's just great. Yep. It's really
it's going to be good.
So is it based on anyone real? The character.
Well, his whole thing about digging latrines is based off of your plugs for the Dead Man's Tome. So when you Marchese has no idea what we're talking about, but
all right.
But when you get the story, you'll know. You'll be like, oh my God. What in the world did he just... So that's the whole thing was that. Yeah. Now, number 6 is one of the ones we're pretty excited about, and that's Ice Station Bravo. And that's by Arthur Unk. And I don't know if that's his real last name or not. Arthur Unk. And he's the guy actually wrote the story when he was on doing some kind of military exercise in Wisconsin, and it was snowing, and he's in a tent, and apparently he was writing it in a tent in this cold, wintry environment. So it's kind of a neat idea, you're writing in this horrible experience, and we got this great story from him. We actually, it feels like The Thing and Aliens is basically what I would say.
Precisely.
So when you hear it, it's going to be the most probably cinematic out of all of them.
Yeah, lots of bangs, lots of explosions, lots of music. Yeah,
cool. Is it like a more of an? Is it a bit like The Thing? I suppose, like a bit of an action sort of. Is that the direction it takes?
Yeah.
The way I'm leaning towards it, as far as action wise, it's more like Aliens.
Yeah.
Like the second movie, it's more the music's very dun 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 dun, and it's there's a lot of military drums and stuff. So
it's going to be sweet, and that's what we wanted when Arthur told us. He's like, hey, I want to do something that's like Aliens, like Resident Evil, like The Thing. I was all for it. I was like, oh man, this is going to be great. So we're excited about that. And then number 7. This was actually the last story we received for the podcast. It's called Cell Block B, and that's by Gemma Amor. Yeah.
And she's a no-sleep author.
Yeah.
Yep.
So and that's Oh, it's okay, and it's about Cell Block B.
Oh, brilliant! more than just a clever title.
Yeah. It's a prison story, and you'll see. I mean, that's one of those ones I think where you kind of have to read it to really understand. But basically, a guy is waiting to die, and he has like the death penalty, and he's just waiting for his turn.
Yeah, it's a good story, man. It's really well written. Very well done.
Very good.
I mean,
Actually, all of them are. I cannot stop saying that about our lineup. Our lineup is ridiculous. Very talented people on this lineup. So
I don't think this would spoil anything, but I mean, in that Death Row story, do you go into his last meal and stuff like that?
No, I don't think so. He's already pretty much.
Oh, on the way there, like it's. Oh,
well,
okay.
He's not on his way there per se, but this is a very unique death sentence. Put it that way. And so that's the horror of it. You'll see. It's in a way it kind of reminds me, not maybe thematically, but just in the way it's written, it kind of reminds me of Way Out a little bit. I feel like I don't know why.
Wow.
I see a sort of almost like just a similarity in, I don't know, just how they were written, the approach it was taken maybe.
Yeah.
Episode 8 is White Light Heaven.
That's a good one.
That's a good title.
That's another Brian Black story.
Oh, right. He's a talented guy.
He's a jerk, is what he is. He said he was going to quit if he didn't get any more stories in, and so we had to give in. Now, you know what we needed? We wanted more. We kind of realized at one point, I think. Jason and I, we had a lot of male voice actors. We had a lot of females that were kind of coming into it, but we didn't have a lot of roles for them. So it actually had this White Light Heaven story that I was sitting on, for a long time. And I said, you know what? I could change the character to a female, and, it wouldn't really make a difference per se in the story. And I think it would be a really good story for one of these new female voice actresses that come in and really take control over it. And did she? Oh my God!
Yes.
Her name is Amanda. I don't know what her last name is. Do you, Jason? I know.
No, Graham. She's a friend of Graham's, and he never gave us her last name.
Yeah, she's a friend of Graham, so it's cool. but
oh
no. He's gonna hate us for that.
Yeah, he's done getting emails right now, probably.
But this is the first story I'd ever received that I had ever heard somebody do this to my work. Just as I'm sure Gary's gonna be like, "Holy crap, my story is done in this way." And someone's giggling back there.
Something's tickled him, obviously.
I'm looking at the horse picture. I'm sorry.
Oh, that's ridiculous. Yeah.
Just think of that whenever you're like listening to one of my
stories. Well done. Way to go.
Oh God. Sorry, Brian. What you're saying?
No, but I got that when I listened to Amanda and Graham doing this my story, I was actually like jogging and through the park, and I started crying. I mean, tears were down my eyes. It was amazing. Like I was so just, because the story isn't like, it's terror in a sense of what is like the situation, but it's not like, it's not like some monster's chasing somebody in the story or anything. It's totally different type of horror. So when I heard this, I'm bawling my eyes out, and I just couldn't believe it. It was so beautiful. And I hope that that's what happens when people listen to it, because it's just, it's amazing.
Now, well, actually, with the effects and stuff that have been added to the parts in it, it's really full, and it's very tragic. It's a very heart-wrenching sadness that comes from that story. It's I mean, if you don't listen to the story and you don't feel empathy for the main person, I mean, go to our Patreon. You're the kind of person we want to sign up for Patreon / Graham. No, but yeah, it's a great story, Brian. Wonderful, wonderful story. And voice acting is superb.
Yeah, it's
amazing. You know what's great is you both sound completely enthusiastic about it, and you clearly have a love for the project and stuff. And I get the impression talking that, it'd be nice for you to sort of progress to where you monetized and stuff, but I just get the general impression you're happy to do it at the moment. It's just a labor of love.
Well, again, like I said, the main focus of this is for the podcast to just be self-sufficient. I have a job, Would it be nice to make this a career? Yeah. I mean, I would be a liar if I said that, but the thing is, I would like for the podcast to continue to pay for itself. It is an absolute honor and joy to deliver these stories. I love the feedback, and I love being able to do this to the listeners for sure. And I know Brian feels the same.
Yeah, definitely. It's amazing too, just even having everybody write these stories for us, not having any idea what we're gonna do with them. I mean, we could just have some guy like reading their story, like, "Hey, I really like this story. It's really good."
Lots of echo.
Once upon a time, there was this guy, and he was like, talking to the story. Oh my God, everybody! You can just do something like that.
I actually had. I'm not going to say who did it or the background behind it, but one of my stories was read by someone, a voice actor, but I think they'd just sort of done it for the love sort of thing, and it's I was given the audio of it. I listened to it, and it was pretty terrible. And they kept sort of getting. It was a really short story, and they kept getting words wrong. And I remember instead of saying Fiat, like the car brand Fiat.
Yeah.
They said flat. So it just takes you out of the story. It's like it's Fiat. So he runs around a Fiat. He doesn't run around a flat. It just doesn't make sense. You know what I mean? He's on a road. It's a she actually. She's on a road. She runs around a Fiat. It's not. How can you run around a flat? But anyway, yeah, that's how they read it, and it does when it's not done particularly well. It does completely take you out of the story. It's not great, but there's no danger of that in the preview episode I listened to. It was very good.
Well, beautiful thing is too at the Grey Rooms is one thing that I make sure, me personally as the producer, is that when I complete an episode, I send the completed episode to the author and the voice actors, and I want them to hear it before I actually publish it, because I want their input. Because I want them to hear it and tell me, okay, yeah, this is good, this is bad. Now am I going to use everything they say? Probably yes or no. I don't know. It depends. If it works, it does. If it doesn't, it doesn't. But I want you guys to hear the product that goes out before it goes out, because this is a part of you that's in here, so you have skin in the game. It's just as important for you to be on, level ground with me as it is me.
Yeah. I'm sure it's absolutely spot on. I think Brian said that I'd get a chance to hear a preview of my story and stuff.
Always. Every author, every voice actor, everybody out there listening and who will be listening, every voice actor, every author will always have early access to the story for the sake of your approval. That's pretty much it.
Yeah, that's cool.
So, if you want to make a million changes, you can go ahead and say, "Hey, I want
to." just to be awkward.
My email didn't work that day. I don't know what happened.
Yeah. Hey, Charlotte just joined in. We got 9 people watching. That's pretty
nice.
Charlotte's a patron, so that's how she's a patron. And she actually does appear in a couple of our episodes of the voice actors too. So.
Oh, very cool.
Cool. Speaking of voice actors, one of the people in the chat room, Bo Chappelle, he was on the show before. He says, "Who's everyone's favorite voice actor?" I noticed that Brian said Graham Rowett. Graham Rowett.
Rowett. Graham Rowett. Yep.
With a thumbs up, because I'm like, yeah, Graham.
Right, Graham. Well, Graham is actually part of the cast now, the crew. He's our casting director and all that kind of stuff. So
and he runs our Instagram.
He does. Oh no!
Oh,
The floodgates of puns have begun.
That's pretty cool.
he's been dead on, like, awesome. I got to say, Graham definitely gets 2 thumbs up from me, just because of not just how exceptionally talented of an actor he is, but he's in on this. He's in. He's sold on this. Like, he believes in the podcast. So you can't ask for more from somebody who's actually doing something like that than actually to believe in what you're doing. So
absolutely. Hey, Marchese, you were talking about Grand Theft Auto 5 before.
Yeah, I noticed he's in there. He's it says he's the Impotent Rage video game voice actor.
Isn't that crazy?
That's pretty
Isn't
cool.
that crazy?
Yeah, and BioShock too.
Yeah, he did BioShock 2. He it's weird is, and I was talking to him. I really like Les Miserables, and I had seen it in downtown Pittsburgh one year, like 2002, and it was weird. I was discussing this, or I'm not discussing that, but just discussing musicals in general, and I found out that he was in the Les Mis touring group between like 2001 and 2005 or something like that. And it turned out that I had actually seen him perform when I was a lot younger. When he was a lot younger.
Somebody said Small World. Yeah, it's Small World.
Yeah.
It's crazy how that worked out. So,
For sure.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so I'd say Graham. I'd say Graham's pretty rock and roll. However, I don't want to take light off of any of the voice actors, that experienced or not. Like Warren Richardson, he does an episode called Labyrinth that's actually going to be a bonus episode, but he's the voice for your story.
Yeah, The Way Out. He's that, Yeah,
if you get a chance to listen to him, warrenrichardson.com, he does stuff for, like, he does tons of commercials.
He does Elvis.
Stuff for History Channel.
Yeah. Elvis.
He does Elvis.
Huge, deep, boomy voice, man. Yeah. Just like, oh, man. Like, he did Manon Lysette's story of the Labyrinth, and Manon said, I could just listen to this guy read the financial newspaper, and I would just be enthralled by him.
I think he fell in love with him, to be honest with you. I think, I think he got some nervous sweats listening to that guy talk.
Is it like a Peter Steele type voice?
It's like a Barry White voice.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Yes, exactly.
Or Shaft or something. Or
what's his name? What's his name from Riddick?
Vin Diesel.
Yeah, Vin Diesel.
He has that raspy kind of, almost like he smokes a lot. And it's like a super deep, raspy, just very, for lack of better words, very masculine voice.
Yeah.
A very just boomy, powerful voice. So
kind of just I'm a little bit worried about the way Will sort of went, when I said Vin Diesel.
Well, he's picturing him like voicing a teddy bear right now.
Hey man, yeah, holes and teddy bears, Barry White. What's going on?
I am Groot.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, the Kool-Aid Man. There you go.
All right.
Welcome to the Deadman's Tone podcast. All right.
All right.
Let's explore this.
Want to drive my Lincoln?
Oh my god!
Fantastic. Yeah. Have you guys been on any other podcasts, or were you like no? Besides your own?
Nothing.
That's it.
Oh wow! So we've got a little bit of an exclusive as well.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. You're the first people
fantastic.
I talked to. I don't know about Brian. Brian talked to Augie. Was that Augie Peterson you talked to?
Well,
Brian?
I had a interview in like an article, but not an actual, I didn't actually end up on her podcast. She doesn't want me in the podcast. No, number 9 is Summer Child.
Yep.
And that's so basically that's the Daniel Russell one that he sent us, since we couldn't use his first one. And Summer Child is really, really weird.
Yes, extremely weird.
You will go from, this is interesting, to wanting to throw up. And and you will be very hungry for bacon after.
Oh, come on, man! I just had some bacon.
Just think of that. Think of sizzling bacon when you listen to this, and you'll see what I'm talking about.
Pork belly.
I'm gonna have to sort of listen back to this after I've heard the first series and just sort of review, put a bit of context to what you're saying. Like,
oh man,
yeah, it's terrible, Gary. It's horrible. It's gross.
You'll want to stick a fork in yourself.
Oh no, Brian, come on, guys. That's a little inside. That's a little inside there. Oh, it's terrible.
What? It's just a figure of speech.
Yeah, this guy actually, the way he kind of writes too, I picture in my head like if I were in a room and there are people in it. This room is dark, and the only light coming in the room is from a big window, but you can see the dust particles in the air because it's so dirty, and it's super humid in the room. Everybody's sweaty. Nobody has a clean shirt. Kind of like Hellraiser.
Oh wow!
Yeah,
nice.
Or like. What was
That's
that?
what I envision when I read this
what's
story.
a squeal like a pig? What's that? What was that?
Deliverance.
Oh, Deliverance, yeah.
Oh, jeez.
So then you have number 10 is Ground Level, and that's by M.R. Tapia? Is that?
Tapia.
Yeah.
Tapia, okay. Yeah, he's in there, and that dude is so enthusiastic.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. I love talking to that guy. He's awesome.
He runs Hindered Souls Press, and he's published me and Will. In fact, I think the first thing Will and I were in together was the Hindered Souls anthology.
Yeah.
So he's a really enthusiastic publisher, and he's got a book coming out by Renee Miller fairly soon. So she's a fantastic writer, and he's already also published A.A. Medina as well, who runs Aphotic Realm.
Yeah.
So it's again back down to this sort of little circle of the same names sort of popping up, and
Well, you mentioned Bo Chappell earlier,
yes,
and I'm actually supposed to be working on the anthology for his novel too, that Year 47. So that's another thing that I have going on, and I'd actually started on that way before all this, and I'm like, hey buddy, you said August, I'll get it out to you by then. I promise. But
man.
He's I love talking to Bo. He's a good guy.
Yeah, we had him on the. I don't know if you listened to it at all, but we had him on the podcast last week, and it was. I think it was possibly the funniest podcast we've done. I mean, we've done about. Oh goodness, how many podcasts have we done now? Will, is it like 7 or 8 or something like that?
Yeah.
Oh man, we were creasing ourselves. It was just chaos. It started off just. It was going to be me and Will just sort of having a bit of a chat, which. When we don't have any guests, we occasionally just talk, like friends do. We just have a bit of a beer and a chat and sort of record it for the podcast. But then it became me, Will, and who dropped in first? Was it?
Dustin.
Who was it? Will. Dustin popped in, and then Dustin Shiler Yoke from Aphotic Realm. He popped in, and then Bo dropped in, and then we had a little 10-second cameo from Jesse Deadman, which was the funniest thing that's happened in weeks and weeks. It was just hilarious.
I made it into a what's that? Like a dubstep?
Like a remix.
Yeah.
If you got to listen to it. If you do anything, if you listen to any of our, if you listen to if you listen to any of our previous podcasts, you've got to listen to that because it's just so funny. I'll go on Twitter and look at Will's remix of it. Because Jesse sort of comes on, and I didn't even know he was on at the time, and I was talking about something. And he just comes on and goes, hello? There's an echo. And then...
sounds like somebody made a mistake.
exactly that. And then he goes, it sounds like a sausage fest. And he just loops. And he just loops. And then it goes, hello? Is there an echo? It sounds like a sausage fest. And it does it like 3 or 4 times.
Gary's in the background going, "Oh yeah,
oh yeah." But it's you got to hear it though. You just go back over. We'll retweet it or something. The original video on the remix. It is so funny, guys. You just got to listen to it. The way it happened. And then after about 15 seconds, Jesse just dropped out, didn't he? He didn't even say goodbye or anything.
He just left.
He came in, dropped some gold, and dropped the mic. And
that's it.
That's awesome.
Like,
in many ways, I'm glad he
Dr.
did.
Dre. Boom, 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 boom.
Yeah. I'm just glad he did it that way. It was fantastic. It wouldn't have been the same if he'd have actually said, "Right, I'm going, guys. See you later."
Yeah, exactly.
Sounds like a sausage fest.
Yeah, do some yard work or something.
You guys should implement that into like your opening song. You should have like
That's what we said.
Like,
Yeah.
That's what we said. We
Get the
told,
remix
actually, Will, you need to do that. You need to do that as the
once
theme
you guys
tune.
get some music together, shoot it over to me. I'll edit it down for you.
Yeah, awesome. Thanks. Yeah, definitely, Jason. We'll have to do that.
Yeah.
That's so funny. Put a bit dubstep with it.
For sure. And I'll kill the music and really emphasize. It'll be like booch, 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 sausage fest.
That should just be the end of the Grey Rooms.
Yes,
That's it. Yeah.
That's it. He goes to the final door and it's sausage fest.
No,
The guy with the keys.
Oh, Jesus!
torment in hell. Why do you kill me?
The guy with the keys could actually be Jesse Deadman.
And like you hear him eating it in every episode. You hear him eating something. At the end, you find out it's bacon.
I can't go back to that story.
Oh, man. Let's go back to Summer Child there.
And we're back on the ground level. Thanks a lot.
Yeah. So ground level. So ground level is is basically another suicide story.
Mhm.
Dude, you got to tell him the kicker. You got to tell him the kicker on this one, though.
Okay. So he's telling me that I'm actually explaining a certain story that I'm not going to tell you what it is. But I told him the idea of this one story, and he was like, "Oh man," he's like, "I'm actually writing something similar to you, except this guy basically like decides."
It happened in real life.
Yeah, this guy that he worked with in construction or something. I guess he like, oh man, how am I going to explain? He basically
Something happened in real life.
Yeah.
And now we have a story based on it. So
yeah,
that
and he
story
landed
is
on a
based on
porta-john.
reality.
He landed on a porta-john. That's the kicker. and he lived, and that
he
was
didn't
like,
die.
so basically, our wonderful author says, what if he didn't? You know, like what if he?
Oh no.
So I guess in a way, that's pretty much how that worked out. And so that's a story you can look forward to on that. Then 11 is called A Certain Man, and Kelly will probably leave after we read that because that's her story. She's like, all right, they mentioned me, I'm good.
They played my song. I'm out.
Yeah.
Is a certain man me?
Well, basically, you were Rasputin's, little what the heck sidekick, and
Like the bat in Anastasia.
yeah, you're the bat. There you go.
Yeah.
Because what do bats do that you do so well?
Shit. Guano.
So actually maybe that's how he survived all that cyanide they were putting in his wine or whatever. He just gave it to Gary. Here you go, Gary.
Here you go, Gary.
So Kelly just said
doing a good job on that trench.
Kelly said that there was a song by Boney M, and I guess it refers to Rasputin. So that's where she got the title. And it literally is, if you're familiar with the historical side, the legendary side, however you want to look at it, of Rasputin, that's pretty much how that story will go. So it's kind of neat.
Which, by the way, Kelly had that book out. I'm going to say it wrong. It's like that. Is it Mordecai? God damn.
Yeah.
I have it. I have not read it in like 3 weeks, but I read about half of it.
Yeah.
Whoa, that's a cool book. I like the historical aspect of horror, man. I like when people like do historical horror stories. That's really awesome.
That's Kelly's shtick. That's her thing. She's very good at writing historical horror.
Yeah, it was a really neat book. Like, again, I'm only halfway through it, and it's really cool.
You just made Kelly's day.
Hey, I won the contest to get the book. I'm a man. I bought Mannon's book.
Wait,
I'm a man of my word.
Wait
man.
a minute.
I'll get your book. Let's do it.
You told the joke to her and won the book?
Yeah.
Is that how you? I did too. I won a book from telling her a joke.
Did you tell her a joke and win the book?
I did.
Awesome. Well,
I told her a joke. Mine
Kelly,
was probably better.
You are grounded in the gray rooms. We have your story. We have your book. You're here. We love you.
You have our jokes.
You have our jokes.
You have our jokes.
Were they good jokes?
Commons license on that joke.
I forget what my joke was. I forget.
I totally forget. I know it was horrible.
Yeah.
I think it was something like, "What do fish say when they hit a wall? Damn."
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, because she was asking for terrible jokes. I'm pretty sure that's what it was.
He needs more Kentucky bourbon to make that funny.
Thanks, Bob. Appreciate Bob.
No, let me tell you something. This thing is, it's making me sick. This beer.
His joke?
No, the Kentucky ale.
Sorry,
oh
man.
my god. I don't know what it is, but I just have this like feeling to just Ralph everywhere.
Oh, no.
That would be awesome. If you tell us a joke and your response was,
You know what? If you were to get that out and you send this to me, I would edit that and I would totally make that the case.
Yeah.
That'd be like the end
How's
of
a pale ale, Stifler?
Maybe we should talk about that crispy bacon more and see how that affects.
Oh, God.
No.
I'm telling you guys, I'm sorry. Not to go backwards, but that story, if you do not think of like pork belly sizzling on a cast iron skillet, man.
That's what I'm thinking about.
I'm thinking of that episode. I don't know if it was the I forgot the name of the show, but it was Meatloaf. Remember the singer Meatloaf, and like they were. I don't know. I don't want to give too much away in case I've hit it on the head. But have you ever what was the name of that show? There was like a secret like this diner.
I remember Meatloaf. I think from a Tales from the Crypt episode.
Yeah, that's the one. That's the one.
Is that it?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Yeah, God, that was a long time ago, brother.
Heck yeah. They need to put Tales from the Crypt on some kind of streaming.
No, they just need to go ahead and syndicate Grey Rooms, put it on television.
It's like if you love Tales from the Crypt.
Yeah, definitely. Number 12, The Gardener. So we talked about The Gardener a lot. That was Man and Liza's story. And it's about a gardener. Nice.
Yeah,
nice.
That's pretty much
It's actually about a farmer, and the gardener is sort of like he kind of created his own creepy pasta. I don't think it's a real existing one, but he kind of made his own.
It's like a new monster story almost.
Yeah, it's sweet. I like it. You know, and the voice actor for it had listened to some of the sound effects that Jason had put in there, and he actually asked him to tone it down a little bit because it was messing him up.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah, he was like, that's really just not cool.
Yeah.
And I was like, all right, I got to increase it by 3 decibels. Then that's what we're talking about.
Yeah, it was good. And the last one doesn't actually have a name yet because I still owe him. It's not written. Basically it's also
season finale.
Yeah, it is, and this is kind of a cool idea, I think. But I don't know. Unlike all the other episodes that are totally just a random, story, this is actually Raymond. I actually tried to.
Graham.
No, not Graham. I was actually going to say Graymond, like a combination of Graham and Graymond. Graham.
That's funny.
But,
that's funny.
Yeah, it's Graham's life story here. We're gonna kill him. That's it. We need anybody want a casting director for season 2? No. What happens basically is this is Raymond's story. So he's actually going to relive his own death in the Grey Rooms.
Everything's going to come to a head. Everything's going to come together, and we're going to finally. It's just going to be a big boom.
And the way he died was, and it's not really a spoiler because it's kind of like the whole point. He dies in the electric chair. So it's also a death sentence story, which is funny because I was talking to Gemma about it. And incidentally, you guys are going to be interviewing Gemma pretty soon too. I think.
That's so crazy. Really? That's awesome.
Yeah,
that
she
is
was
awesome.
Talking to Gemma, and they're like, "Oh yeah, we'll get you on our show." So,
nice.
And I said to her, "Yeah, my last story is going to be a death sentence." She's like, "Wow, that's what mine is." So I was like, "Oh," but mine's different because it's actually the guy. Special meat. Sorry, I just read the chat room. Special meat. But yeah. So once that's actually written, and it's going to be pretty interesting, I think. I think what I want to do is I want to kind of put aspects of all the stories. What is somebody doing over there?
Sorry, that's me. That's me. That's me. I'm trying to quietly put something away. And obviously, I'm failing miserably. I'm sorry.
Holy crap! Talk about sausage.
That's me.
I mean, my God.
All right, I got the bacon away, guys. The bacon's out.
Oh dear. You're sort of reeling it in there, you know.
I know. He's making a balloon animal down there. So.
God, I was really doing nothing. That just shows me how sensitive the mic is on this iPhone X that I purchased this year. You should purchase the iPhone X as well. Not only does it come with a standard new Samsung touchscreen, it also comes with the iOS operating system. I don't know. That was my failed attempt at doing some kind of an advertisement.
Yeah, I was going to say, is Apple sponsoring the podcast?
Yeah. Oh man, if Apple was sponsoring a podcast, we'd all be living in like, you know.
Yeah. Oh man.
There was an episode that we did pretty early on where I think I was doing something in the kitchen or something, and it might have been when Kelly were interviewing Kelly. And she's like, "What are you doing?" And I was like, "Oh, I'm just washing some dishes."
Yeah. And then it sounded like you were like putting together, like you doing like a deck or something. You were just
what the heck?
Yeah.
Wait, what's going on?
So what you're saying is not only do you interview talent for your podcast, but you're also like doing a flip it show as well.
Well, it's usually towards the end.
We're going to talk about renovating your audio experience with the story and your deck. Tune in on Saturday.
The first hour is the serious part. Then afterwards, it just falls to shit.
That's pretty funny.
Always falls to shit. But no, I frequently do my ironing whilst I'm doing this podcast. I either do my ironing or I get the washing in from the garden outside and stuff like that. So I usually just use my iPhone, get the standard iPhone headsets in, you know, with the little mic on, you know. I tend to just use that. But I tend to sort of record the podcast in my kitchen, which is why you can probably hear a slight echo when I talk.
I'm in the kitchen too, and that's where my studio is.
That's nice. You want a snack while you're eating? You're just right there.
Yeah.
Dude, I am literally 4 feet away from some booze. Which is amazing how I get any stories done, honestly. It's amazing.
I can't even think of booze. This thing doesn't even have an expiration. I'm trying to look for an expiration date on this. I got it from Whole Foods, and it's got no expiration date. In case it's called Kentucky Bourbon Barrel Ale.
Oh, that is terrible.
Oh,
that is terrible.
You had it?
I have had that, dude. I have had that. That's terrible.
Oh,
that
wait. Alcohol is 8.2. Oh my God, this is so disgusting.
It tastes like that. It tastes the reason why I have had that. That's the worst aftertaste I think I've ever had.
I'm over here.
It's like somebody wrung a sock out of my mouth. It's like
my limbs feel like they're freaking numb. I was laughing before, and I felt like I was gonna pass out. I'm like, what's going on here?
So what you're saying is you need to drink another one.
Yeah. That'll round it out.
Where are you at, if I may ask, sir, in the country? Where are you at?
Who, me?
Yeah, yes, sir.
I'm in New York.
New York, okay. Rock and roll. All right, cool. So's Graham. Cool. I already got to send Graham a bottle of Bullet, so maybe we'll figure something out.
Oh, yeah. I'm the mule. I gotta get it to him.
Keister it. It's illegal to put it through the mail.
Yeah, that's my state.
Wait, where are you guys from?
I live like in Pittsburgh, basically. So,
Sir,
we have
very in Omaha, Nebraska.
Okay, all right.
Wow.
Yeah. So you guys are pretty much my time zone, right?
No, I'm Central.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm a Midwest. Before I got a hold of you guys, I was having a typical Midwestern breakfast. I ate 2 pounds of bacon. I was cleaning my shotgun and reading the Bible before I got on with y'all.
Oh, man.
That's how we do it in the Midwest.
Nice. Will's always cleaning his gun, but he needs to talk to his mother about that or something.
Different gun.
No. Sorry,
I was thinking, hairy hands.
Speaking of hairy hands.
Oh, no.
What's up with that horse head? Because I've seen that horse head before.
Yeah, well, that's my horse head. And what's funny is I bought that in Ohio when I was dating my wife. Well, dating the woman who became my wife, I guess.
Yeah.
But I bought it at like a joke store, and I thought, because it's creepy.
It is.
It's a very disturbing thing. And for a while there, I was seeing it all over the internet, and it kind of died off now. But I still had it. And so when I got that Grey Room shirt, I thought, oh my gosh, this would be great. So, I just put on the horse head mask with the T-shirt, had my wife take the picture, and and I thought this is what the Grey Rooms is about.
It is a creepy freaking horse, I tell you that much.
Well, what was funny is my wife lived like an hour and a half away when we were dating, and I had to drive, basically, a distance to date her. And on weekends, so I would go and drive, and my nephew sometimes would ride with me. So he loved that horse head mask as much as I did. So he puts it on, and we're driving, like 70 miles an hour on the highway, or on the interstate, and people are like stopping their cars. They're like, "What the heck?" This one guy wanted us to slow down and match his speed so that he could record us, and he's laughing his head off. I'm like, guy is gonna like crash, So then at one point we get into the town that my wife was living in, and we're at a stop sign, and this lady is to our right, and she stopped too, and she goes and screams out to my nephew, "Hey, are you hung like one?"
Oh, man.
And my nephew, he's like a minor, I think, at this point. He's like 16, and he just doesn't say a word, just slowly shakes his head like, yeah.
I was going to say to the collar and cuffs match.
Yeah.
I used a low-hanging stall for a reason.
Oh, hey guys, I'm going to have to shoot off in a second. We're getting on for time here now.
Oh yeah, we'll take this out with a bang. We got 8 viewers watching right now.
Nice. Nice.
Yeah, so to wind it up, like any other things that you guys got going on besides the Grey Rooms on the side, or you're just focusing everything onto this project?
Yeah, I'm 100% on the Grey Rooms. This is all I have. That and this. Just the Grey Rooms. I'm
Nice.
trying to be a dad.
Yeah.
And the Patreon, which feel free to sign up today.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm just good.
How do they get a hold of that? They just go to thegrayrooms.com or
just thegrayrooms.com will be up very soon. But patreon.com/the Grey Rooms, all one word. You go on there, you get the $2, $3, $6, $15 level. I'm pretty sure people saw on Twitter what happens when you get the $15 level. You get a pretty extensive little hand-created package. Everything is made by hand. The key pendants, the letters are written by hand. Your room description, because if you do sign up, you get a key to the room that you will be getting a description for, and that description pretty much tells you how sucky that room is going to be. And
cool.
And then that envelope is again sealed with wax and everything by hand, and then the warden will send you a handwritten letter thanking you and also saying sorry. So yeah. So patreon.com/Grey Rooms. Anything helps. It's not we're not saying do it, but if you want to, it'd be great. We appreciate it.
And the Twitter, if the Twitter for the Grey Rooms is at the Gray Rooms Pod. And if you follow that, the Patreon link is pinned on there.
At the top.
So you should be able to access that. And as long as if you do $2 a month, you will get to listen to all the episodes a week before they air. So
all of our patrons have already heard this episode.
Yeah,
and actually, I was pretty pleased to see that the response from them was pretty overwhelmingly good. So,
I wonder what would you have done if they said it sucked?
I mean, I guess I would have done anything in my. I probably would have cried a little bit, and then I probably would have asked them how I could have made it better. And
we would have punched Mike Lee because he wrote the story.
Yeah,
it's the author's fault.
I'll definitely be after the podcast. I'm sure we'll whack it in the notes. The address of your webpage, and I'll be retweeting your details as well when I get off the podcast. But no, I really appreciate Brian and Jason coming on. It's as usual. It's a chunkier time, and it's been really, really fun talking to you. It's been really funny as well, which is good.
Well, we appreciate it.
No problem, and I hope that the listeners sort of are a bit enthused to get in on the Grey Room action and just see how passionate you are about it. And I wish you the best of luck with it, and I'll certainly be listening.
And I wish you the best of luck too, because you die in one story, and then
you can't really
Well, we had to get your story first before we killed you, so it worked out.
Yeah, fantastic. Brilliant.
Now, again, on a personal level, if I may, this is the first time for me with all of this, including talking to you gentlemen. It's been a pleasure and an honor. I truly, personally, am very grateful for you guys taking the time to talk to us, and then and I do hope that not only do we continue to put out a good quality product, that we continue to keep it fun and let everybody know that, you know what, the Grey Rooms isn't just about death. I mean, yes, it is, but we are not about just death. We're about
we're fun guys.
Sure you're about horse's head and penis as well.
We all paid the $5 at the door. We all have red cups. We're ready to party, man. We're here to hang out with you, you know. So thanks again for having us on. Thanks everybody for listening. Truly, I am absolutely flabbergasted, blown away by the amount of support and everything from all of you. It's overwhelming. You all are absolutely wonderful people, and I truly do hope that you enjoy what we are going to bring.
I'm sure everyone will, and not a problem, man. We're happy to have you on. It's been really nice talking to you both.
Definitely.
Yeah. One last thing too, I wanted to throw in is we do have a Grey Rooms website that is in the works. We're hoping to get that finished by Friday. It'll basically set things up for the second season, especially for submissions for short stories and things like that. There'll be more guidelines, so people will kind of know what exactly to do, because in the beginning, we kind of were, kind of a little chaotic. The other thing is that we, well, the other thing is that if you haven't had a chance to submit anything, there might be one last thing coming up that you'll be finding out about pretty soon, where you might still have one more chance to have something pop in on this first season. So, I think people can stay tuned for that. Outside of that, we'll probably be taking a break for submissions until season 2, which would be probably sometime in the fall, a little bit maybe before the first episode actually airs. So
yes, sir.
Cool. I'm looking forward to that coming up, and I think second time round you're probably going to have quite a few submissions going off the quality of the first series. For all the 5-minute excerpts I've heard of it so far is fantastic. So long may it continue with series 1.
And we definitely hope we can get all the original writers and everyone. We're hoping that we'll get some more submissions from them as well, because it kind of feels like it's almost like family, really. Jason hadn't really gotten to talk to a lot of the authors yet. That's one of the reasons why I thought this would be a great opportunity for him, because people kind of just talk to me a lot, but Jason is really turning that story into really making it taking an already good story and really highlighting it and making it can be really awesome. So
that's cool.
Thanks again, guys. Appreciate it.
No, no problem. I'm going to go, and I'm going to go to bed because it's 9:45 here, and I'm up really early in the morning. so thanks very much, guys. Much appreciated, and I'll talk to you on Twitter. And thanks very much.
Yes.
Right, guys. We'll
Thank
talk to
you.
you later.
See you
Gary,
guys.
thanks,
Take
brother.
care.
Have a
Thanks
good
so
one.
much.
Bye. All right, so just to throw something in there, if you'd like to come on to talk about horror, or if you have something to sell, a new book coming out, please contact either me or Gary. We're on Twitter. Gary Buller, we go by our names. Mine is WC Marchese. If you like this show, please give it a thumbs up and comment on what you like to hear. YouTube.com/WC Marchese is the channel. And to subscribe, you can, so you can be notified for new guests coming on or things like that. Usually we always advertise on Twitter, Facebook, and Google+. So talk to you next time, guys and girls.